morning. I have a little friend with me here today and she is modelling what we're going to be making. You'll have seen from the thumbnail what we're going to be making anyway. Now this is the hat that I made for my Middie to go to the Wonderland of Play in Bruges, so you may have seen that and you may have seen the photos etc of her in this outfit. But I thought it was such a sweet little hat. It wasn't even what I'd intended on doing. I changed it so many different times before I actually got to this. I was planning on doing big floppy ears, all sorts of things, but I decided the cute little ears were quite nice. So this is the tutorial we're doing today. Don't forget I am in UK terms, so you may need a conversion chart. It is in a double knit yarn and I'm using a 3mm crochet hook. I have altered it very slightly for the tutorial just to make it a little bit quicker, a little bit simpler, but it will still look like this. So I hope you're going to join me. So let's get top down and get some crochet done. So here we have everything we need for our little Middie Blythe bunny hat. You could turn this into a teddy bear as well, but I have done it as a bunny. I will apologise though, because in the intro I'm 100% sure I said double knit yarn. It is not. It is a 4-ply yarn I am using, and I will reiterate that in the comments, so I hope I've not caused any confusion there. But the hook size I did quote was right, which was a 3mm crochet hook. Again, don't forget UK terms, so you may need that conversion charts, etc. I've done it in this dusky pink and cream. You can do it in whatever colour you want. And this is the little hat when it's not on her. So you see, we've got these cute little sort of short bunny ears. Again, you could make them longer. You could alter this pattern to suit yourselves. Now in here I have a few little boxes of tricks. I have my needles, which are all tangled now. What am I doing? There we go. So I have some sewing up needles. We'll put them to one side. We don't really need them. I have a little bit of lace. This is optional, but this is what I did to create this little frill. I have the little button that also added to the flower. 2 tiny buttons. I use buttons for the eyes. You could use beads, but if it is going to somebody that you may think that could be dangerous, you know, maybe swallowing risks, things like that, choking risks, maybe sew the details on. That is up to you. And I have some little felt bits here. I have 2 felt circles for the ears and 1 for the actual mouth. Now I know somebody's probably going to ask me the size of this, so let's have a look. I've got this tiny little tape measure here. That's a 0 it starts with, so I would say it's about 1.5 centimeters, which is what, 15mm. I use my die cutter for this, but you can cut the circles out, whichever works best for you. I have a tiny stitch marker. This is a lovely one that I got from J Dolls UK, so I'm going to use that. And I have a tiny bit of sewing yarn, I was going to say. This is 4-ply black yarn, which I've used to do that. There's one thing I have forgotten to bring across, and that is my sewing cotton, which I've used as very pale pink, because I've sewn this on. You don't have to. Some people prefer to just stick things on. Sometimes glue is handy to hold things in place, which I do use sometimes, but then I do like to stitch it on as well. So that is what I've got from there. So we don't need any of those bits. They can all go to one side. I'm throwing one of the ears away, but I suppose we don't really need that either at the moment. So this is the slightly modified version. I mean, this is the original one. Now this was done in double crochet, but I thought, well, it can take a long time, some of the videos, and sometimes people want a quick make. So I've done it here, and I've done it in half trebles. Now it doesn't make a huge difference. It's a slightly longer stitch, but I think it looks okay actually. I thought perhaps we should have done that one now in half trebles. So I have done that part in half trebles, a few double crochets thrown in around the edges, and the ears are like amigurumi style, and they are done in a double crochet. Remember, UK double crochet, there is a huge difference, so you do need to keep an eye on that. So I'm going to put my Middie to one side, and we're going to start with this little part of the hat. So let's move everything out of the way, make it nice and clear. I don't need my scissors. That's just the cream. You could do it all in one colour. I just decided I wanted to do a stripe, so I'll put that. So which side am I going to put it? I'll put it over there. So I'll put it up there. It sort of creates even a bigger shadow. So we're starting with this one. Now this, off the top of my head, I'm pretty sure is a Stylecraft 4-ply yarn. It's quite a nice sort of everyday yarn they have, and it's not expensive, and it's really good quality as well. So I have used it quite a lot, but any 4-ply yarn but don't forget you will sometimes get a thickness difference in yarn, so it is always worth sort of keep checking on the doll. Just looking, I can see I'm getting distracted. There's a little seed up there. I had some seeded bagels and I think it's one of the seeds from that, so we'll just pop her there so you can keep an eye on her. And my hook, my yarn, my slip knot. So onto the hook. Now I am going to start with double crochets because it's just a way of getting it going, but the first thing I'm going to do before that is 2 chain, because that's how I start my double crochet rounds. I just do 2 chain, much easier than doing anything else. And then into that first chain there, I'm going to do 6 double crochets. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Can you hear a pussycat crying? I'm not sure whether you can. I'm not going to do a slip stitch join or anything at all like that, because I'm now going to jump into half trebles. Now if you're not sure on a half treble, let's have a go. Yarn round as if you were doing a treble into that first double crochet we did. The first one's always a bit tricky to get into, so we're in. Yes, we're going to pull the yarn through. It does give us 3 on the hook, like you're doing. Let me bring it a little bit closer there, like you were doing a treble. But instead of like with a treble, we're not going bit, bit, bit. We're going to pull through all 3 at the same time. Now we're going to go back into that same one and do another one. So same stitch, pull it through, 3 on the hook. Don't make it too tight, it makes it hard. And there we go. That's our first increase. We now have 5 stitches left, and we're going to do 2 half trebles in each of those, giving us 12 stitches in total. So here we go. This is our second one. So that's the second one for... I'm just going to put some hand cream on before. Don't advise you put hand cream on before you... my hands are really dry, so I've had to before you crochet, because it makes it sometimes a little bit awkward. With the yarn sort of sticks and your hook sort of sticks, so perhaps I shouldn't have done that, but never mind, we will get through it. So that was our second increase one, so we did 2 in that one, we're going to do 2 in this one, this is our third one, 6 in total. Remember, this yarn's split in a little bit, isn't it? That's, let me double check, that's 3, yep. Into number 4 we're going to do 2, and into number 5 we're going to do 2. Yeah, it's starting to flow a little bit now. And into our last one, number 6. Well, we're not going to do 2 because that slipped out. Into number 6 we're gonna do 2. So we should now have 12 stitches. I'm just pulling that centre bit just to tighten it up a bit. I don't want a hole in the top of our hat, so if that is an issue and you can't actually pull it tight, unless you do want to undo it, you can actually thread the yarn at the end and pull it up tight from there. So don't over panic if you do get a little bit of a space. Now obviously that's not enough. We now only have 12. Well, I want a few more stitches than that, don't I? Let me move it that way because I'm catching on my feet. So I'm going to do 2 half trebles again in each one. Now you may notice I haven't done a slip stitch join, nothing like that. I'm just going to continue around as if I'm doing amigurumi, because you can get away with it with a half treble. So we do have to look where that first one was, which can be a bit tricky. So that's 1 and 1 in our first of 12. So now we need to do 2 in each of the remaining 11. So I'm just going to count. This is our second one, our third one, what did I do there? Third one, our fourth one, our fifth one, number 6. So we're halfway around, so you can see we're getting a little bit bigger now. So that's number 6. We've got another 6 to do. 2 in each of those. So this is in number 7, number 8. Don't forget to do 2. I nearly did then. In number 9. So if we don't do 2, we're not going to increase our size. Number 10. number 11, and our last one. Oh, did I do no? I don't know. I did do 2. Thought I'd only done 1 in number 11 then, and 2 in number 12. So now we should have 24 stitches. Still not big enough, you may notice. So we're now going to do a combination of 2 half trebles in the first one, and then one double crochet. They're not even double crochets, are they? We're going to do 2 half trebles in the first stitch, 1 half treble, 1 half treble. Yeah, and that's the combination. So we do a 2 1 1, 2 1 1, and we're going to do that 8 times. I'm just checking on my numbers there to make sure I did do that, and that, because we've got 24, will give us 32 stitches. So off we go. You can use a stitch marker if you wish, but I am going to try and count. I know when I'm chattering sometimes counting doesn't work, but I am going to count. So we have 2 in there. Keep dropping this stitch. It reminds myself, do not put hand cream on before crocheting. So that's 2 in the first one. Then we want a 1 and a 1. So that's combination number 1. Combination number 2, we have 2 in the first one. We have 1. We have 1. So that's our second set. Our third set, we have 2 in our first one, and then a 1 and a 1. Number 4. So that means we're halfway, doesn't it? So 2 in the first one, 1 and 1. Set number 5. We have a 2. Then we have a 1 and a 1. Number 6. I had to think then. We have a 2. We have a 1 and a 1. Number 7. So we're in our last 2. 1, 2 in that one. Then 1, 1, and number 8. 2 in the first one. We have a 1 and a 1. I keep doing that. I think it's literally because it's slipping. I said, don't put hand cream on. I really do think it's what's causing my problem here. There we go. So we now have 32 stitches. Still not enough. I want 40 stitches, and I'm actually going to grab my stitch marker now because I'm counting but then sort of thinking ahead of myself at the same time, and I know I'm going to count wrong. So let's get this little bunny stitch marker in there because it's going to work on the same system. We're going to have a combination, but this time we have 2 in that first one and then 1, 2 and 3. Yeah, you get that? So a 2, 1, 2 and 3, and you're going to do that 8 times, which will give us 40 stitches, and that is it for the increasing. There is no more increasing after that. So here we go. 2 into the first one, 1, 2 and 3, and the yarn is squeaking a bit again. I don't know whether it's that angry. I don't know whether you can hear the squeak. I can hear the squeak. So that's our first one. Our second one, we have a 2. We have a 1, 1, 1. We have a third one, which has a 2 in it. And then we're going to have a 1, 1 and 1. Number 4, which you can sort of see because we're almost exactly opposite, so you know you're about halfway anyway. So this is our 4th set. 1, 2, 3 and 4. 5th set. It's like Middie's holding my wool for me now. 1, 2 and 3. Number 6 set, 2 in the first one, and then our 1, 2 and 3. Set number 7, almost there, 2, 1, 2 and 3, and our very final set, 1, 2, and then we should have 3 stitches, which is right. Yay! So I did it right. I did count the last round. Did do it right. I was a little bit concerned I missed one, and there we go. So, oh, did you hear that then? I just absolutely jumped out of my skin. I've got a Venetian blind here, and I'd noticed it had come, the top bit had come off, and it just velcros on. It's just dropped down, and I can't wait to see the video back, because I don't know whether I literally jumped hand-wise. You'll have heard it fall, but yeah, because I was concentrating, then it fell. My own fault. I had a feeling it was going to, because it didn't feel secure. But yes, it's not damaged anything. It just made me jump. Right, we're now going to be going on to just half treble rounds. Now this is where you need to start marking it on your doll. I'm going to take this off her head, and we're going to try it on her as we go. Now I have written down here that I have got 5 half treble rounds. So we're going to do 5 half treble rounds, but we'll keep trying it on her head midway, because you do need to make sure, depending on your yarn, whether it is going to fit. So are we ready? I have pen and paper ready on the side. It's down now, so I'm not going to jump again. Oh dear, yeah, that did make me jump. So off we go with our half trebles. Now if the half treble is causing you a problem, you can do it in stages, you know. You can go like that. You don't have to pull it all the way through. That comes with practice. But saying that, some yarns I still have to break it up into sections, doing it 2 and a 1. But do however it works for you. Now I know some of you are going to just like whiz off and do your 5 rounds now. Some of you will stay with me while we do it. Up to you. You can stop the video and do it. You can fast forward the video. You can, the beauty of YouTube, you can work it however you want. So it's already curving, which is good. We need it to curve. It is a hat after all. We don't want it flat, do we? So it is working. Now I'm going to be making a couple of these also for the Dolly Gathering that is coming up at the end of July. I don't know if there's any more tickets left. It's quite close to me, this one as well, because it's in Doncaster, which is great. So Doncaster in the UK. Don't know whether there's a Doncaster anywhere else. There might be, I don't know. But yeah, it looks like it's going to be a fun one. All dolls. It's just a really nice get together. It's the first one that they've done, so I'm quite excited about it. And I'm going to be having a stall there as well. So I think if anyone wants to have a look, Facebook's the best option for that. I'll put a link in there, because I think she may have some tickets left. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, worth a look if you're in the area. But it is a ticket only event. You can't just turn up. That's the other thing as well. Right, we're almost round for round number 1. It's not squeaking as much now. Oh, I think the cream's soaked into my skin a bit, thankfully. Right, that is round number 1. That's it. I have my pen and paper here, and I will mark that off. You see it's already curving, which is what we want, because obviously it has to sit over our Middie's head. So that's looking good. That gives you an idea roughly whether it's going to fit if it sort of sits like that. So off we go again for round number 2. It is quite a simple little hat. Sometimes it's just adding those details that makes it a little bit more special. And it's sort of a nice base hat as well, that, like I say, it could be a teddy bear. Well, you can do different colours for different bears as well. But I just decided I wanted a rabbit one, because the theme at Wonderland of Play was Alice in Wonderland. So I thought, well, we need a little rabbit. Even though it's not a white rabbit, I had to do her a little rabbit hat. If you haven't seen the videos, I'll pop a link as well. If you ever get the chance to go, I mean, apart from that, Bruges was amazing. The actual event was great. It was just absolutely bonkers. The amount of things there, could have spent a fortune, but I did try to resist. Well, sort of. If you've seen the videos, you'll know how much I resisted. Resistance was futile, I think. Almost round for round number 2. The thing is, as I say, it's 5 rounds. It's not much really, is it? I mean, there's 40 stitches and you're going to go round that 5 times in the half trebles. So it goes a lot faster with half trebles. That's why I decided. That is before we change the colour, of course. There is a little bit more after 5 rounds, unless you don't want to change the colour. And then you can just do another round and check the size on your doll from there. I really should move my stitch marker up as well. Nearly got a little split there. So we'll mark that one down. So round number 2, and I'm just going to push it out a little bit so you can see, because this is the right side. It has a tendency to curl, so this side's showing, but that's your wrong side. Well, it's where the little tail's sticking out is the wrong side, and this is our right side. Shall we move this stitch marker? I think I should really. And off we go again. Or not. Here we go, round number 3. I just decided it's squeaking again now. It's weird. I mean, I know I'm sort of blaming the hand cream, but I do find some yarns seem to squeak more than others as well. And also it depends on how tight you got it on your hook. I haven't got this on tight, so I know it's not that, but that can make it a little bit squeaky as well. Halfway around already. So when you get into it, it starts to move a little bit faster. It's always that first few rounds until you get sort of into it, and then it starts to speed up a little bit. I'm pretty sure actually this size, in fact, I will try it out. I think this should fit my Smart Doll, because Middie and Smart Doll have a very similar head size. It's really just sort of the depth of the head that can make a difference. If I will try it on after we've made this. If it does work, I'll put a picture in the thumbnail to show it works on a Smart Doll as well. If it doesn't, I won't, because I don't want to sort of have to tell you there's alterations then as well. But quite often, Middie and Smart Doll can share hats. Couple more stitches for a round on this one. Middie's getting tangled again. And round, so I will mark that off. Now that is round 3, so shall we try it on her head just to check? Now remember it's yarn, so it stretches a little bit, but yeah, I'm happy with that. So as you can see how it's going. Now I think with the half trebles it came out slightly longer on the head than it did with the double crochets, but as I say, you can adjust that to sort of suit your doll or suit what you're wanting. So I'm on round 4 now. And then after 5 we'll be changing our colours. You can listen to the squeaks for a second. I say it might not pick up on the camera, the squeaky bit, actually. I mean, I can hear it, but it might not actually pick up for you guys. Oh, squeaky there. Come on, off we go. Pull this of the yarn out. Halfway, because I can see a bunny there at the bottom. Yes, it was slight bunny madness out there. I don't know whether any of you have seen the shot that I put up of just the cutest bunny I have ever seen. I've called him Bertie, and I just couldn't resist going out and taking some photos of him and then putting them all together as a little short. He's adorable. I was going to say I'd put the link up for him as well, but I can't keep putting the link up for everything, can I? There'll be like loads of squares when we get to the end of the video for you to click on. You know, he's determined to make noises today. That was a car backfiring out there. I think that's what they call it. Made a noise anyway. It's going to be a noisy day, noisy video. Right, 2 stitches. 1 stitch, and that is round 4. So we can see we've got a nice little hat shape coming now. So our last round at the moment in the pink, we're not completely giving up on the pink, so I want the last bit to be done in pink as well, but we will be changing colour now again, which is completely optional to yourselves. Oh, what have I done there? There's caught. Beauty of crochet. If a stitch catches or a stitch drops or something like that, you can just undo it and just do it again. It's that easy to do. I know I know I don't knit, but I can knit. I can remember all the years when I've been knitting and I dropped a stitch and I just wanted to cry. And quite often I wouldn't continue with the work then. Because I just didn't have the patience to pick it up, and I never thought it looked 100% right when I did. So yeah, I sort of gave up. Well, as soon as sort of the crochet bug hit and I started crocheting, I was completely besotted and knitting went out of the window. I keep telling myself I am going to do a little bit of knitting again, just to see if I can remember how to do it, to be honest. It's been that long. And then, you know, I know my mum does do them for me, but she can't do as much as she used to because with her hands. So, yeah, perhaps I ought to have a little go, even if it was just like making little scarves or something like that. Well, that is until I drop a stitch and then I'll fall out with it and I'll never do it again. But in the meantime, at least I can crochet. So this is the last round for our change. So we've only got a few more stitches to go. Nearly. Little blue bunnies there. Right, now I'm maybe going to do something a little bit controversial for my change of colours. You do it however you wish, but I am literally from there, I'm going to do a double crochet and I'm going to cut it off. Yes, I said it. I'm just going to cut it off and fasten it off. So that is my 5 rounds. Now you may want to sort of check it on your doll's head at this point. So I'm quite happy with that. I think it sits nicely. Now what I'm planning on doing, wherever I do my join, it'll sort of depend where it sits, and I'll probably put my little motif on it. If you're not happy with the joins, it's a great way to hide it. So let's grab our cream, which is in a little bit of a tangle. So I'm hoping I'm going to find the end of it. Ta-da! No, that's not the end. Oh, where are we? I may be a second here. I'm unraveling the wrong part. Of which I am as well. Oh, I've got yarn everywhere. Oh, I just don't know how some of you do it. Some people are so neat with their yarn and seem to manage to sort of keep it without like doing this. I don't have any luck at all. Now with the cream, I'm going to be working in a double crochet. That's the other reason I finished this off with a double crochet. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go back one stitch from where that double crochet was. I'm going to pick up my new yarn. I'm going to pull it through. I'm going to do a chain, yeah, and then I'm going to do a double crochet back into that same space, and then I'm going to carry on. Now if you don't want to crochet your yarn in as you go, that's fine, you can always sew it in afterwards, but I am going to try and line my two up and at the same time crochet them in. It does make sure you really do crochet them in for quite a while. Don't just do a couple and then cut them off, because they will well, not come undone, but you'll have a piece of yarn sticking out, which can be somewhat annoying. So I'm going to keep crocheting them in. Just occasionally make sure they're nice and flat, because they can sort of bubble up if you're not careful. And also don't pull them too tight, otherwise it will sort of pull the hat tight as well. So every now and again I just check it and then continue. As I say, we are now doing a double crochet into each of those half trebles from the previous row. The beauty of a double crochet now though is it sort of nips the hat in a little bit. It's still the same amount of stitches, but because it is a tighter stitch, it will sort of just make it a little bit firmer at the bottom. I will quite frequently, if I've made a little hat in half trebles, unless I want lots of stretch, I would finish it with a double crochet round. Just makes it a little bit neater. Oh, we're still squeaking. Can't wait to listen back to it because I want to know how much it's squeaking. You watch, I've been talking about squeaking and you're not going to be hearing a thing. And you'll be wondering what on earth I'm talking about. I'm still going to keep going as long as I can, because I really don't want those ends to come out and I really don't want to sew them in. So it saves me a job either way, as long as I go far enough round with them. Let's have a look. So you can see, so I've gone that far. So I'm actually now going to cut those two off. Make sure you keep that one out the way. The amount of times I've cut the wrong one, it's very frustrating. But now it's out of the way. So look, no ends to sew in. It makes life easier. Now all my needles and everything are getting attached to the yarn. You know, I must be the most unorganized person at times. So let's keep going. Double crochet all the way back to the little bunny stitch marker, and then we're going to do another round. I want 2 rounds here. I do 2 rounds because I find one round doesn't show enough. So you do need the 2 to sort of get your colour looking sort of very separate. Now we're going to just carry on. So we know we're at the beginning now. We'll leave the stitch marker there, but I'm just going to go into that first stitch. And when I get round, I can show you what I mean. That I think it works quite neat. Maybe it's not the best method. I'm sure some of you do better methods for joining yarn, but I'm happy with this one, and it's the one that I will keep doing whenever I'm doing anything. And yeah, it looks quite sort of smooth. Look at that, you know, it's just split there. There we are. But it's just that you can get a lot of stepping if you're not careful. Which again, if you're going to cover it up with something's fine, but sometimes you don't cover it up, so you don't really want it showing like that. Now, if you don't want to go on to the pink after this round either, just carry on with cream. But I am going to go back to pink when we get round. In fact, let me just pull that in so you can see. So these are the 2 rounds we're doing now, and then I will be going back to the pink. And then there's just, I think it's, without looking at my pattern, I think it's 1 more round in the pink, and then we've got the little ear flaps. In fact, I think that might be all in it. And I see it. I'm trying to look at my pattern at the same time as crocheting. Oh no, that is, it's a DC round. First thought it was. I've got so many different projects on at the moment, I don't know which is which. I think that's why I said double knit yarn at the beginning, because the next project I'm doing is in a double knit yarn, which I have actually made. I've even done the intro for it, so hopefully by the end of the week, as long as nothing else creeps up in life, that is one I will be showing you, and it is a chocolate orange cover. I'll give you a little peek later if I think on. Right, so I'm round, so I'm going to do just a double crochet there and stop, and I'm going to cut it off. I don't need that cream anymore, so I'm going to move it out of the way. Oh, I just mentioned the actual pineapple, didn't I? Ta-da! Anyway, that's for another day. That's for another day. So fasten off. Bring in our pink yarn, which isn't thankfully as tangled as the white, and I'm going to pick up just one behind the last stitch I did. I'm going to pull it through. I'm going to do a chain, and I'm going to do a double crochet back into that same stitch, and I'm going to again crochet my yarn in, but optional for you, because you can, it's just as easy to sew it in at the end. I just thought I prefer it this way, because the less I have to sew in, the better. I think it's squeakier actually when there's more yarn there. You'd be sick of me talking about squeaky things. Just hoping it's not making anyone cringe, because I know sometimes that noise, it's like that chalkboard noise, isn't it? It can sort of be a little bit uncomfortable feeling, but hopefully not. Sounds like I've got a little mouse in here, doesn't it? Right, so keep going. I'll go to about halfway, and then I will cut those two off. Keep making sure they're nice and flat, because you don't want them suddenly peeking through here. That's why I say you need to make sure they're keeping them nice and flat. Let's see, I'm about halfway. I'll do a few more stitches first, and then I'll cut it off. 1, 2, maybe one more, and 3. It's always best to do a few more to be safe than sorry, because I say you don't want this coming undone. I'm making sure it's nice and flat within that channel, and then off it goes, being careful not to cut the yarn I'm using. Right, off we go. It feels a bit sort of easier as well when you get past that bit, but it is important to make sure it is either crocheted or sewn in well. We are nearly round. Not quite sure what shape this hat's called. I think it's a helmet hat. Not 100%. I have done them before where I've done like tassels, which again is another optional you could do from the ear flaps, and I'm pretty sure that's what they're called, helmet hats, but then obviously we've added the detail from there as well. So you can see I am round, so I am just going to do a double crochet into that first one if I can. What have I done there? It doesn't want to go in. There we go. So I've just double crocheted. Right, so you can see it's not a bad join, is it? It doesn't make it that obvious by doing that. There is a very tiny sort of slope rather than a step, but I think it looks better than a massive step in your work. Now, the next bit I want to do is just these. Now, and you don't really have to massively count with this. You just need to work out approximately halfway for the hat, or try it on your doll first. Different dolls do have different ear placements. So I'm going to put yarn round because I'm going to do some trebles, and I'm going to miss a stitch. So you miss one, and into the next one, 3 trebles. So I've got 1, 2, 3. Into the next one, I'm also going to do 3 trebles. We've got 1, 2, and 3. We're going to miss one, and then into the next one, double crochet. And that's our ear flap number 1. Now, I think I did write down, yes, I've written down 16 stitches, so we'll go with that and then double check afterwards. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, looks about right. This is going to be 14, 15 and 16. If you're not sure, just fold the hat. When you fold it, that's exactly in the middle there. You know we're almost in the right place, aren't we there? So I miss a stitch, and then into the next one, 3 trebles. 1, 2 and 3. Into the next one, 3 trebles. 1, 2 and 3. We're going to miss a stitch, double crochet all the way back to our beginning, and that's the hat base finished. Now for you guys, obviously I only have to make 1 ear. I will make my second one later, but you will need 2 ears, and it is nice and quick, the ears, so we don't need to worry too much about that. But let's just get back to the beginning of this first. One more, and then I like to finish off with a slip stitch, don't I? So I've got a slip stitch in that last one, and that's it. It's done. The base hat is done. We're going to try it on our bun just to double check. I'm going to take my stitch marker out because I'm going to need that in a second. Come back, little Middie, and let's have a look. I think she looks rather cute in that. So that's the base of our hat. And as I say, you could do some little plaits. I've done that on these little hats before. So we'll keep this one on her head while we look at doing the ear. Now the ear is even easier, obviously, than the hat. It's a lot smaller. But if you want to make it longer, you can do. It is entirely up to you. You could do a floppy-eared bunny, just have really long ears sticking up bunny, whatever you want. So we're going to have to chain... Well, we are, if I can get hold of it. We have 1 and we have 2. And into our first one, you've guessed it, I'm going to do 6 double crochets. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So that is our starting round. In our next one, we're going to be doing 2 double crochets in each. Again, very similar to how we were doing the others, but these are all double crochets, remember. So 2 into our first one there that we did, and then 2 in each of the following 5. So that's 1. So we need 6 in total, don't we? So that's our second one. Oh, it will be if I don't drop it. Make sure you get all that yarn when you do drop it and you pick it up again. Right, 2. In number 3. In number 4. In number 5. And in number 6. I'm also considering another girl that this might fit, and I can see her still on my table, so I might try her as well. So we now have 12 stitches. We're going to do 2 double crochet rounds. I don't think I'm going to worry too much about that stitch marker for this. It's only 12 stitches I'm counting, and we will be counting them twice, won't we? So off we go. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. So that's round 1. We need another round, but I'm actually going to push my work out because it feels harder to sort of work on it if it's not pushed out like that. So I need another 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. And it's still curling round. Right, push it back out. It does make life easier to do that. I'm going to have one more increase round to get up to 16 stitches. So you're only going to increase 4 times on this. So you're going to do 2 in your first one and then 1 in the following 2. So we're going to go 2, 1, 1. That's our first set. Second set, we have a 2, we have a 1, and we have a 1. Set number 3, we have a 2, and we have a 1, and a 1, and our very last set, we're going to have a 2, and we're going to have a 1 and a 1. We should now have 16 stitches, so you can see it's gone a little bit wider again. So I now need 4 rounds. Again, I did 4 increases, now I want 4 rounds of double crochet in the size I'm doing. This is where you can go as long or as short as you want. You could leave it about that size and it makes sort of like a teddy bear ear, or you just go for the longer rabbit ear, completely up to you. So let's count 16 stitches. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 and 16. So can you see how the shape is coming? Now you would want 3 more rounds if you're doing it the size I have done it, which is this one, or as I say, you can change your length. So I'm going to leave it at there. I would need 3 more rounds on there and then I would finish with a slip stitch. But because there's a couple of other bits to talk about, I've decided you don't need that piece of information. You can just make it as long as you want. If you are making the ears the length that mine are, that is when these will come into place. If you're making a longer ear, you're going to have to make a longer shape, obviously, but the little circles worked for this one. So I always sew it on when it's flat, and this is where I'm going to pause it because I didn't get my sewing cotton, did I? I'm saying I'm going to pause it. I don't know. Where's my clicker? Oh, I've got it. So I got this, look, this little clicker. Can you see it? It means I don't have to touch the camera, which means it doesn't have to wobble about. So I'm just going to pause. I'll be back in a second. I'm back, and here is the sewing cotton I'm using. It's just almost a match to this. So I'm going to sew one just to show you what I get up to with it. I have my little hedgehog pincushion here and a normal sewing needle. If I can pick it up, there we go. So I'm just going to thread my needle if I can see it. It's a tiny one, this one. There we go, I'm through. So don't leave your cotton too long. You need it long enough to get your work done, but if it's too long it'll tangle, so you do need to be careful. And at the end I'm going to pop in a knot because you're not going to see that, so you don't need to worry about your knot. And I'm just going to pick a point here because I don't want that knot visible, so I'm going to do it like that. And then I'm going to place this on. I usually start the sewing from the bottom because I think that's easy to finish off with. And it's just like, I hope you can see this, a little tiny, move that out of the way would help, little tiny overstitch. So it's just a little overstitch all the way around. Take your time doing it, make sure your stitches are nice and neat, and of course you don't have to stitch it. If you would prefer to just glue, make sure you're using a good fabric glue. That is an option. So as I said, sometimes, like with this, I would sometimes glue it on. If it was something tiny, I'd glue it on, let it dry, and then stitch it in place, and it just holds it in place a little bit better. So, you know, the fabric glue does have its place. I just don't trust it to 100% to hold, so that's why I like to stitch everything. But not everybody likes sewing, so I do understand it. Now I might be rushing this a little bit compared to what I normally do. I do like to take the time to make sure all my stitches are even, but for demonstration purposes I can always unpick it and this will be fine. That's not that bad actually. With your felt as well, make sure you're using a good quality felt. That can make a difference. Oh, Pussycat's mowing again. Ta-da! So what I'm going to do, I don't want that piece of thread showing anywhere, so I've just pushed it all the way through, and I'm going to trim it off. So I need my darning needle again, wherever I've put it, like a darning needle, wool needle, whatever you want to call it. And I'm going to thread the piece that's there, because this is the piece that you're going to sew onto the hat. So, well, it will do if I don't do that. So you do need to make sure when you cut it off, you leave enough yarn. Again, I've done that so many times and then I can't sew it on. You can add the yarn, but it is easier not to. So I did a little fold. You don't have to. You can stitch it on straight like that. Now, the only thing as I did notice, I've just sewn my little circle on in the wrong place, because I like this bit to be at the side, ready for the fold, because it does make life easier. And then I basically going over and over. So it just holds it in place before I stitch it on. I quite often use the doll to get it in place, because you'll find it's not actually central where you put these things. Sometimes it's slightly forward, and I'm going to stitch it sort of right at the top there. So I'm going to pick up a point, pick up a piece of the ear, and I'm actually going to go all the way around the ear, sewing it onto the head. So it's not just one place, I'm sewing all the way around until the ear is where I want it to be. So going back to the next bit we need to look at is the little nose. Now again, do this before you sew it on to the actual thing. And I mentioned about glue. This is one place I will use a little bit of glue, because I need to make sure that that nose is going nowhere. So this is my black 4-ply. You can use an embroidery yarn. Sometimes it can split, I find, embroidery yarn there. So you do have, although it's not even called yarn, is it? It's called thread. So I am going to do a tiny knot if I can. Doesn't want to do a knot then. Where am I going? Yep, that is a tiny weeny knot. That is what you need, because you don't want it showing. And as far as this is concerned, find a central point. This is where you might need a slightly sharper needle, because that one doesn't want to go through. There we go. And all I did is I took one down. So much harder when you're trying to demonstrate, because usually I'll do it on the table. So it's one down. Yeah, so that is that bit. And then I go back into the centre one, because it avoids, because otherwise you'll end up seeing shadows of yarn going across when you actually pop it on it. And then I'm going to take it to one side, if I can. Oh, this one's going to have a straight across nose. And then I'm going to take it back to the centre. You can make lots of character with them this way though. And I better take this one across, because I need it the same. If I'm doing it on a table, you see, I will press where I'm going to go. But when I'm holding it like this, it's not so easy. There we go. So I have a little nose detail. Now I would need to tie a knot here. And then I said about the glue, this is when I would put a little bit of PVA glue on this and leave this to one side to solidify. It just seals the knot. And then you would go through the same process as I have with the ear, stitching it into place, if you're wanting to stitch, that is. And then the little buttons here, these are really tiny weeny buttons. You can see, super tiny. I'm not sure on the size. I think they're literally a couple of mil. They might be 5 mil buttons, those. But you can use whatever you want at that point for that. And then the same with this. All I did really with this ribbon was I did a running stitch. In fact, we've still got some cotton on here, so we'll do a little bit. So basically, as I say, I'm just doing a quick version here. It's just a little gather. Yeah, this is where the hand cream is definitely becoming a pain. It's still not soaked into my hands. It's just because I get a bit of eczema sometimes, and it can be really sore, so that's why I put something on. And I wish I hadn't now. I wish I'd waited. Because with the smaller needles, it's even slippier. So basically, you can see I've just done a running stitch, and then when you gather, keep going until you get a little circle, and then when you've finished, you would stitch that onto the hat. And if you wanted a button or something like that, you could stitch that detail on. It could be anything, a bead, a button, whatever you want to do to actually make yours your hat, if that makes sense. So that is it for today for my little Middie. I've got some tidying up to do now because I've got bits and pieces everywhere. Let me pop this one back on. I need to get that one finished because I need the photograph of that one, not this one. And there you can see, this is our little Middie hat. Oh, I did say I was going to try it on somebody else, didn't I? Now, this is my poor doll, if that makes sense, from the Pull-Up range that I've still done nothing with because she's got a broken ankle and she needed a bit of work done when I bought her. I'm just curious because I think she's got approximately, oh no, her head's a little bit bigger. So it's not going to squeeze on her, and I will check with Smart Doll. You'll see the picture. If it fits on Smart Doll, you'll still see a picture on the thumbnail. But it is Middie's hat, and it is designed for a Middie Blythe. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed that. Hope you're going to have a go. Tag me if you do it and pop it on Instagram or anything like that. Please like, subscribe and share, and I will see you all very soon without the hand cream. Bye-bye for now.